Thank you for tuning into the Sports Peninsula podcast. Coming up, we'll continue our 2026 NFL Draft prospect coverage with a focus on the quarterbacks. This group is led by one elite prospect, and then there are a lot of question marks, even with the remaining top 5 prospects. We'll talk about our top 5 quarterback prospects, and also touch on whether the Detroit Lions should take a flyer on a day 3 quarterback next. Now, here's your Sports Peninsula team. Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Peninsula podcast. My name is David Rzinski-Drew. I'm joined by Coach Andy Scheel, and we're here talking NFL draft prospects, wrapping up this 2026 draft class with the quarterbacks. And, Coach, we've been at this our 9th season now, and usually 80% of the time the quarterback class is just loaded with day one guys, but we've seen some that haven't been. I think this is one of those ones where we might not see a whole lot of them.
You know, there's one that plays. So it's a position that at the higher level, first round, okay, if the prospect demand is of such, still there's a demand. There's only so much demand for this position. So it's a very selective, tough position to play and to kind of predict really on the high end where guys are going to go. More times than not, teams that are drafting high in the draft may not be very successful. May they be looking at something they want to do in their offense and shake things up? You may see that. You may see teams that have a pretty good starting quarterback or someone they definitely aren't looking to move on from anytime soon. But they know that within 3 years or so, that is likely. Then you see them get drafted then as well at the high end. But a lot of guys, Drew, and we'll probably talk about some today, I have a feeling may go down into the third day. And, you know, quite frankly, as we have seen in pick 199 in what was it, the good old draft of 2000. Yeah. One Tom Brady. Just so happened to do pretty well for himself. Oh, by the way, I think there was a Mr. Irrelevant drafted a few years ago that all he ever does is compete for an NFC West championship and is perennially in the playoffs, and that's Brock Purdy. Yeah. So this is not just a glamour position in a high first overall pick, third overall pick, top 10 pick, second round. No, I mean, this is a position that you're going to see players emerge from the third day and in undrafted free agency, Drew.
And what I would say before we introduce the top 20, I think, like, and you're spot on, there's only 32 jobs in terms of starters. You've got to be really elite to jump right into one of those roles. But the backup pool is starting to thin. And I think this group's going to have a hell of an opportunity to get in that mix. I mean, how many different teams can Josh Johnson play for, right? You know, I mean, we just had Kyle Allen in Detroit. He's been around a little bit. There's a lot of guys that bounced around the league for years, and they're starting to get older. You're gonna see some of these young guys start to emerge and get opportunities. So let's take a look at some of these youngsters who are going to get an opportunity, Coach.
Well, Ethan Kaliakamanis out of Rutgers. I pronounced that name for 5 years, Drew. I don't know why I stumbled on it this last time.
It's not
He's
easy.
a number 20 quarterback from the Scarlet Knights. At 19 is Grayson James from Boston College. 18 is Baron Morton from Texas Tech. 17, Kyron Drones from Virginia Tech. At 16 is Miller Moss from Louisville. This is an interesting quarterback right there. Joe Fagano out of Connecticut. That's an interesting prospect right there. And at 15, 14, Joey Aguiar out of Tennessee. 13, someone that had been mentioned as a day 3 target potentially for the Detroit Lions, Haynes King from Georgia Tech. At 12, Diego Pavia out of Vanderbilt. And at 11, Jalen Daniels from Kansas. At 10, Luke Altmaier from Illinois, another prospect that is interesting. Very Jared Goff-like quarterback right there. At 9, Sawyer Robertson out of Baylor. At 8, Cole Payton from North Dakota State. At 7, Taylon Green from Arkansas. There's a good runner right there. At 6, Cade Klubnik from Clemson into our top 5. And guys that we will feature, Carson Beck out of the University of Miami. Number 4, Drew Allar out of Penn State. 3, Garrett Nussmeier from Louisiana State, LSU. And at 2, Ty Simpson out of Alabama, and our number 1 quarterback on our list and the very likely first overall pick in this year's draft, Indiana Hoosiers quarterback, Las Vegas Raiders quarterback. I just about said Oakland, Drew.
That's all right. They've been Oakland for a long time, brother.
Always, forever will be.
Yeah.
Las Vegas Raiders quarterback, for all intents and purposes, Fernando Mendoza, Drew.
Yeah. No, I 99.5% sure on that one, Coach. So I'll introduce him. Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana. 6'5", 225-pound redshirt junior. He hails from Miami, Florida, He transferred from Cal, and he was also the Heisman, O'Brien, and Maxwell Award winner of last year in 2025. So a hat trick of sorts there for young Mr. Mendoza. Also the Walter Camp Player of the Year last year and AP Player of the Year. And, oh, by the way, led Indiana to a national championship as well. One of the more amazing seasons you're going to see for a quarterback ever in a single season. Big Ten first team and first team All-American, of course, last year. 27 of 379 for 3,535 yards. He had 41 touchdowns, and check this out, no interceptions. A 182.8 QBR rating. Now it's college rating, but that's outstanding. Not to mention he rushed for 276 yards and 90 carries with 7 touchdowns. And Coach, he was actually accepted at Yale before he committed to Cal. So a lot of ability, a lot of intelligence here, Coach.
High academic student here. The Ivy League schools do recruit athletes. They do. However, you do have to be a high-level qualifier to do it. So maybe perhaps you could be somebody that you wouldn't get in on your own merit if you weren't a football player. I'm not saying that was the case for Fernando Mendoza, but this is a very, very bright young man. This is a kid that has drawn comparisons to a hybrid of sorts of Andrew Luck and Tom Brady, with the capability of moving his feet well enough to be a threat as on the run, but is as precise of a thrower as this sport has produced, college football, in some time. Fernando Mendoza is a big kid, 6'5", 225, big rangy player. You can just kind of see it in the pads. Sometimes you kind of can lose the quarterback and their size dimension just based off of the offensive lines are typically 6'6", 320. Fernando Mendoza still stands out. Big, long, tall, athletic build. His precision is second to none, Drew. And when we say second to none, I don't want to make light of the position or the position group, but there is no one that throws with the accuracy level of Fernando Mendoza with the ball speed and the release and that he does in this draft. He is the best in that regard. That is an opinion, but he is outstanding.
One many share, Coach, believe me.
Jared Goff type pocket awareness.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to draw some comparisons to Jared Goff because look where they went to school. He has some other elements to his game that maybe Aaron Rodgers could have lent to as well when it comes to escapability. And we know that the younger Aaron Rodgers was just absolutely lethal with his escapability. So to draw comparisons, both of those quarterbacks are elite in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
He has both. He possesses both. So, I mean, that's a major feather in his cap that way. Keeps his eyes, down the field as a down the field thrower. He's a processor. He stands by his work. He is not going to kind of fly by the seat of his pants. Sometimes that's good. As we've known with Josh Allen to some of the great things that he's been able to do, the Brett Favres and the Lamar Jacksons and the amazing plays that they can make, but they can also break your heart with a lethal mistake with that. Fernando Mendoza is not that style. He's not going to beat you that way. He's going to be more cunning. He's just going to kind of just execute you with laser sharp precision. He can take some contact. He's not going to be afraid. He's not going to be too happy. He's not going to be a leaner and stand on that back foot and throw high because he's worried about getting hit. You're not going to see that from him. He's going to stand in there and bear down and follow through and take his shots. You're just a tremendous processor, great football processor with a high-level IQ, a coach's dream. Comes over from Berkeley into Bloomington, Indiana for Curt Cignetti. And they just were a match made in heaven for each other. And Fernando Mendoza, Drew, like I said, he's trading in that red and white, that crimson and white for some black and silver, and heading back west.
Yeah, again, good for him. Like I said, just an amazing season. All the accolades. Winning a national championship and winning it at Indiana. And I mean, no shade on them, but when you think of Indiana, you think of Bobby Knight and the basketball program. You're not thinking about the football program as much. So super, super impressive. And he didn't do it alone, of course. He followed Coach Cignetti over there. He got him over there and they brought in a lot of other players, but it's still a special story. But Coach, he's got some things he's got to work on. No one's infallible.
He doesn't have a big arm. He's very accurate. He's very accurate, and he can get the ball places. He's shown he can get the ball and to come back route land and out to the sideline and those kinds of things. But it's not the biggest arm, and it's not the biggest arm in this draft. But he doesn't have the biggest arm in the world. He is a processor, so there's going to be times where he's going to hold. And I know Jared Goff was a struggle for him earlier on in his career. You see guys take sacks, and it's a terrible thing for your offense. It's a terrible thing for your offense. It's taking a sack and intentional grounding is two in the same. You are losing yards and you're losing a down. So it's two in the same. You've got to be able at this level to avoid that. And that's something he's going to have to work on. He's probably going to thicken up a little bit. I mean, 6'5", 225 is a sturdy frame. And to maintain, his feet and those kinds of things, I don't think you're going to see him get up, much past 230, 235 pounds. But he certainly could do so. He has the frame to do that. And it probably would be in his best interest to do so from the physicality standpoint. He did play in an RPO type, offense, more of the collegiate style offenses at both Cal and Indiana. So he's going to have to do some adaptation going over to Vegas. Now he's going to a place where, they're going to do in some things that Fernando Mendoza does well and work within that too. So, I mean, there's going to be a marriage here, but there is a learning curve Fernando Mendoza is going to have to make, whether it's on the sideline briefly or on the field in the huddle and eventually taking snaps and develop into a pro-style quarterback in the NFL terms.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's the concern there? Well, are his feet going to stay contained still? Is he going to be still poised? Is he still going to be precise? Is he going to rush himself? Is he going to develop happy feet, which he has struggled with in his career? These are the things. Fernando Mendoza is the very likely first overall pick, Drew, and I do think he is going to assert himself. I don't think this is a Josh Rosen. I don't think this is somebody that's going to just, or a Trey Lance. I don't think this is an individual that's going to be drafted very, very high and really like next to not even get a chance to make it. I think there's going to be, in a worst case scenario, a 5 to 7 year window where Fernando Mendoza is a is starting quarterback in this league and then transitions maybe like a Marcus Mariota, and that's in a worst case scenario. A high end scenario is he continues to evolve and grow, which is the likely track, and he is what we talk about in the Goff, Rodgers, Brady comparison.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's some things to his game that he doesn't have Aaron Rodgers' arm. He does have the escapability, like you said. I really like in his frame and his style the Jared Goff very much so, his accuracy. So you combine those two, man.
He's Jared Goff with escapability.
That's scary. I mean, if he can put it together, and like I agree with you, there's a good chance he's gonna be the Raiders quarterback for a long time. They got Kirk Cousins now to compete and show the way, I'm sure. But I would guess Mendoza's got a shot at this job, like a 50-50 shot to win this job coming right out of camp. But he's definitely the Raiders have at least positioned themselves that if worst case scenario he learns for a year behind Kirk Cousins, not a bad guy to learn behind either. Pretty damn good quarterback. So they're in great shape there. I can't say enough about Mendoza. I mean, every team, most teams in the league who don't have like a Patrick Mahomes on their squad or a Josh Allen, like you said, would certainly like a shot at a Mendoza. He's going to be a Raider, and he's definitely a special talent. No, quite to win a national title at Indiana, and the only year you're there, that's special. No interceptions last year. We can go on and on, but we'll go back. We'll go to our number 2 prospect, coach, and this is an interesting one.
Yeah, Ty Simpson out of Bama, out of the University of Alabama. 6'1", 211-pound junior, our number 2 quarterback. He's a Martin, Tennessee native. He's the son of the UT Martin head coach, Jason Simpson. So he's a coach's kid. So this is a football junkie. This is somebody that has a lot of football knowledge and a lot of football background behind him. Went to Westview High School in Martin, Tennessee. He was a 5-star recruit and an All-American Bowl selection in 2022. So kind of a football blue blood of sorts of his own doing. This is a high-end kid out of the class of 2022 in quarterback. 4'8", 40, which is that's a proud number for a quarterback. 2025 was the only year he was the starter for Alabama. In that year, 3,567 yards, 28 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 93 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns, and leading Alabama back to the college football playoff, something that Jalen Milroe was not able to do the year prior. So this being said, Drew, Ty Simpson, I think, is very clearly the number 2 prospect. He just the frame's not quite the same as Mendoza, a very similar play style, not a dissimilar play style at all. But there are some things that aren't quite that of Fernando Mendoza. But all in all, Drew, Ty Simpson, our number 2 overall prospect.
Yeah, and pretty much consensus across the board. Anyone you look at that with any kind of rankings, he's been the number 2 guy. It's been Mendoza Simpson constantly. He only did start the 1 year, but like you said, he was behind Milroe last year, and then I believe it was Bryce Young the year before that. So it's not like he was getting beat out by guys that never did anything. I mean, these are pretty good quarterbacks. They're both in the league, and Young's starting to flourish. So Ty Simpson, had to be patient, wait for his time, and then he took advantage of it. And there's so much we like about him. Very high football IQ, very, very smart, very good processor, much like Mendoza. Like you said, there are some similarities in that respect. He makes good reads at the line of scrimmage and doesn't stare down his first option. That is so important. And we'll say it a lot, but man, there's quarterbacks that will stare down their target, and man, that's just easy picking for a good safety or a linebacker dropping back in zone. That's too easy for them. Ty Simpson knows how to look off the coverage, so to speak. He's got strong and fluid mechanics, and he's a captain and a leader. In his only season as starter in 2025 with the Crimson Tide, he's a captain. So this is a guy that's well respected in the locker room and in the huddle. He doesn't panic under pressure, Coach. He shows a lot of poise out there. And he is capable of running on RPO system. It's a proud number, like you said, 4'8", 40 for him. But Ty Simpson can get it done. He's got a lot that he can do back there, and he's very steady, coach.
He's a coach's boy. This is a person that's probably been playing quarterback since he's been about 2 years old, 3 years old. Yeah. Honestly, and maybe not in the mold of a Todd Marinovich or something like that, where they try to make a quarterback back there in the late 80s, early 90s. But nonetheless, he's a little football product. I'm familiar with that a little bit, and I know the type of person this is, and they are very smart on their feet, and they process so quickly. So I mean, with Ty Simpson, I think there are some people, and I've been guilty of being in this camp, that have kind of pushed this quarterback class away a little bit and kind of dismissed it, and that kind of starts at the back of the A of Fernando Mendoza. And I don't think that's fair. I think this is a person right here that can run an offense in the NFL. He just is going to have to learn how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some things he's got to work on. Obviously, he's got average size and below average length. So, but again, like you said, he's been playing this position likely since his single digits years, 3-4 years old. He's been throwing a football more than likely. When you play a sport at any level for a long time, you figure out how to work around, your own capabilities and your limitations. And Ty Simpson, I think, does a good job with that. But yeah, he is what he is. He's not going to get any bigger than 6'1", 211. He can be seen checking down often and prematurely at times. So as good as he is of a processor and looking off to not steering down his first option, he has been guilty of checking down to the safety valve too often, and he's got to get better at that. You got to make sure you don't forego your second or third options in some cases and just check down to that final option. You want to make sure you can at least get the ball a little further downfield. He's got to work on that. He did have 7 fumbles last year. He tends to hold on to the ball too long, and he takes sacks, and he's got to be careful with that, especially in the NFL. I mean, guys like Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, that's the first thing they do. They're grabbing at that football. So that's what every good edge in this league is going to do. So he's got to be careful of that. He does not have a cannon for an arm either. He's got a good arm. He's got a very capable arm. But yeah, he's not going to be slinging it 75 yards down the field in a snap throw. But he's got a good arm, but not a cannon. Is he too inexperienced as a starter? He's only got the 1 year as a starter at Alabama. Now, that can be a negative, but it does mean there's tread on the tires too a little bit. So that's not a bad thing. Being the football processor that he is, I think he can overcome that, Coach. But can he hold up under the NFL pass rushes? That's the question. Yeah, Ty Simpson's the most interesting prospect in my mind in this class because, like you said, there's teams that do need a quarterback, and I know we think there's a possibility Ty Simpson could actually go day one because of that reason. What are your thoughts?
He doesn't have that one skill or that one talent or that one ability that just makes you, says that I gotta have you. He doesn't possess that. What he possesses is stability. What he possesses is upside through his intelligence and what he brings to the table. He is not an uber talent. So that all being said, yes, this is a bigger dose of vanilla than it is of, Neapolitan or butter pecan or something fancy. This is a steady, satisfying supply of a player here. It's an investment. It can be viewed as boring. It can be viewed as not sexy. It can be viewed as systematic. And it can be viewed as a winner if he goes to the right system. This is the type of a kid that goes to San Francisco and they decide that they need to move on from Brock Purdy in 2 years. Kaboom, here you go. And you're winning the same amount of games. Yeah. And that's exactly who this kid can be, Drew. This kid could be Brock Purdy. He probably could be Brock Purdy fairly quickly. He probably could. Now, that's also his ceiling. Yeah. So, Brock Purdy's gotten the team to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So Ty Simpson's a worthy player. He's a worthy player. If he doesn't go at the end of the first round, and I know we've got some other guys to talk about here too, but how far is he going to go?
It's a good question. Very good question. I think his skill set and his abilities, his leadership skills, his IQ, I think there's no question he should be a day 2 pick. He could be a day 1 pick depending on the situation and depending on which teams, where he falls to and looking at the situation. If a team's first or second option's off the board and they still have a need at quarterback or they like what they see, yeah, they absolutely could take him. There's a couple of teams in this draft, the Raiders being one of them, that absolutely need a starting quarterback. They're going to look at him. There's no you absolutely have to do that, and he's going to be intriguing to some teams, Coach. On to our number 3 prospect on the quarterback board is Garrett Nussmeier out of Louisiana State, LSU. He's 6'2", and a 203-pound senior, Coach. He's from Lake Charles, Louisiana, so he's right there. He went to his school in his backyard. He's a 4-star recruit. He had a respectable 4.82 40 time as well. He's the son of NFL quarterback coach Doug Nussmeier. So, again, here's another coach's son, blue blood. He was also an Under Armour game participant in 2022. Now, he had a misdiagnosed ab injury in 2025, which hindered his performance significantly. But we did recently learn that they did figure that one out. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And that's actually good news for Nussmeier. In 2024, he passed for just over 4,000 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 12 picks. So when he's on and when he's healthy, he can get it done, Coach.
Sure can. Coach Glodich and myself shared an adult beverage once with one Doug Nussmeier.
Excellent.
He was a quarterbacks coach at the University of Michigan at the Michigan football camp when Garrett was a youngster. He would have probably been about 5 or 4 years old, I'm guessing, around that time. But anyway, yes, again, another coach's kid, another player that plays the quarterback position. Garrett Nussmeier was a little higher up the chart in regards to just like Ty Simpson was too. He was a high-level recruit coming out of high school. He is a kid that's got a lot of accuracy, and when he's in his rhythm, can really put the ball in a really nice spot, especially in deep ball. LSU has traditionally, regardless of who the coach has been, liked to throw the football vertically, and he started that year with Brian Kelly this past year. And just in that, true to form, Garrett Nussmeier was throwing the football around quite a bit. Struggled a little bit because you had alluded to, a core injury that was hindering him and especially with his deep throws.
Yeah.
But when Garrett Nussmeier is in rhythm, and we saw that quite a bit in 2024, he throws a really, really nice deep ball. He can run and throw. Which is very, very important because that means you've got a good play action pass candidate. And we talked about safeties being fooled on good play action. You become a good play action quarterback, you can play a long time in that league. You can play a long time on that league, and you can get on the field. You can get out there. I mean, accuracy over big arm all day long. If you can run that offense and be deceptive and make it look like a run, you're going to get a chance. You're going to get a chance. Because he's just got all this, coached up nuances and understanding of what he's doing. He is in a aware quarterback. That coach's kid in him is really kind of just, coming out. He's an alpha. He's a lead dog. He likes to be the guy. There's a way to do that. There's a successful way to do that, because that very easily can become abrasive. And this is becoming more and more as we get older and getting to, if you get to know younger people these days, their tolerance for certain things is a little shallower than others. Not calling them soft, it's just shallower. And they can kind of rid themselves of a certain type of personality in and around amongst their presence rather quickly and dismiss and tune out rather quickly if it goes south. So that's not what Garrett Nussmeier is. He's a guy that does enjoy carrying the wagon to his hitch, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you get a kid that can get on the field. He could get on the field for you rather quickly. He could surprise you, Drew. He could surprise us all. I expect that? No. But and I'll allow you to talk about where you think he goes and those kinds of things after we speak to his weaknesses. But I do see a player that could play in the NFL, though, Drew, just because of his skills that he has learned.
Yeah, and the thing is, he showed in 2024 how he's very capable, and he's got this and the injury we're going to talk about isn't related to his, and it's not a structural thing, so that's a good thing for Nussmeier. But yeah, I like him a lot. Again, when you miss, when you struggle in a season with an injury, there's always question marks, and it's going to hurt your draft status. But let's talk about it, Coach.
Well, I mean, it's a tale of two seasons the last 2 years. First of all, LSU's, produced some stud quarterbacks and some big ones. And it's not easy to get on the field there. He got out there twice, for 2 consecutive years. That's pretty big. 1 year looked like Garrett Nussmeier may be the Fernando Mendoza. That was going to be the 1 overall pick. That did not happen. We are not talking about a 1 overall pick. We're not talking about a first round pick. I'd be absolutely stunned if that were to be the case. Day 2 pick, probably, but I'm not sure which round. I'm thinking maybe the 3rd, based off of an injury that he didn't look that great this year. And it was a core injury, which that can be kind of worrisome. Is this going to return? Because it's a tale of 2 seasons. He's 6'2", 203. Anyway, I mean, any more of these days, I mean, although we are seeing, Drew, I'm not going to push back against that as a weakness. It's not a strength. It certainly isn't a strength. But and I don't know if we want to interject now or afterwards, as we'll wrap this up and get you back into your hands here in a second. We're seeing the quarterback position not shrink per se, but we're seeing a very viable quarterback play at 6'3", 6'2". You don't have to be 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". It's a good thing, but you can play this game in a lesser height. But again, he is. Will there be issues with that? Time will tell. He can telegraph a little bit. That's what was happening a little bit this year. I think he kind of he started to kind of focus down his targets a little bit, just because the throwing wasn't as easy, and it probably was part of his issue. But you telegraph passes in the NFL. It's a good way to be looking at the field, not being on it. He's going to have to make the adjustment. There's going to be some really interesting defenses thrown his way. And he's going to have to get better with his defensive front recognition and his hot route, hits and his audibling and those kinds of things. Is the question is, can he continue to improve? I am going to answer that as a yes, he can. Can he continue to improve at the rate he needs to be an impact player or backup in the NFL? And that's a question that remains to be seen, because he needs to be healthy, Drew, if he even has a chance to do that.
Yeah, and the good thing is the injury is actually, believe it or not, it's a cyst on his spine. And this has been confirmed. And right now he doesn't have any symptoms. He's good. And they said if for any reason he were to have them, it's a minimally invasive surgery, just a scope. They can remove the cyst. So that's great. So now that the injury's not, and then this actually, we in recording this just came out like literally a day or two before we recorded this. So that's a good thing for Garrett Nussmeier. So yeah, I agree with you. I believe that, and we've gotten some good news on a couple prospects. Believe it or not, usually you get bad news right before the draft.
Let's know that too.
Oh yeah, we'll get that. Yeah, absolutely. But you don't normally say, "Oh no, everything's okay now." You don't normally get that. And there's a couple. Nussmeier, not Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, the wide receiver. I guess he's 100% healthy right now. So that doesn't mean he's not going to have more issues down the road. But right now he's good. So that's good news for him too. But Nussmeier, I think, will go day 2 for sure. Like you said, I believe he's going in the second round, Coach, because I think the teams that need a quarterback in round 1, but no, they're not going to go after one necessarily, they're going to look at Nussmeier in round 2, and I think there'll be a play here for him, definitely. So I believe, yeah, he'll continue to improve. The big question is, will it be enough to make him an eventual rock-solid starter, maybe flirting with Pro Bowl recognition? I think that's his ceiling. But it's kind of a day, even for day 2 pick, you're talking a medium risk, but maybe a high reward. So it's a bit of a risk, but there's a lot to like about him. So I think he's got a good shot of being in the league for a long time. I'm curious to see how he'll evolve eventually, if he'll become a starter. Well, we will find out. Let's talk about our number 4 prospect, Coach.
We have a guy that got a little dinged up this year, but he really made his presence felt over in the Big Ten in Penn State for Coach James Franklin. That was Drew Allar, 6'5", 228-pound senior, our number 4 prospect from Medina, Ohio, I believe that's pronounced Medina. 3-year starter at his high school, and he was the Ohio High School Player of the Year in 2022. He was a 4-star prospect out of high school and competed in the Army All-American Bowl. He was a 2023 All Big Ten honorable mention player. He suffered a season-ending ankle injury versus Northwestern this year, which really kind of scrapped his campaign rather early, and it really spelled bad news for the Nittany Lions, because the year prior he led them deep in the college football playoff. Finishes Penn State's leader at all time in completion percentage. So he's a very accurate player at 62.9%. And only had an interception rate of 1.19%. So not only does he complete his passes, Drew, he puts the ball in places where it's very difficult to turn over. This is an interesting prospect, my friend.
Yeah, you like the physicality, you love the statistics. You don't like the injury, but you definitely like the potential here for Drew Allar, and lots to like here, Coach. And again, he looks like a bona fide NFL quarterback with great size. He checks those. He's got Mendoza's size, and actually, he kind of looks like he looks bigger than Mendoza a little bit. He's a big kid, 6'5", 228, and he ran a pro-style offense at Penn State, so he won't be a fish out of water in the NFL with those playbooks either. He's a smart guy. He's got a good release, and he's got good velocity on his throws. He's shown flashes. When he gets in a rhythm, he can be deadly accurate with his throws. You watch the tape, and like you said, Coach, they had a hell of a run in 2024 at Penn State, so he can get it done. He can throw. Oh yeah, absolutely. He can throw from different arm slots. Makes up for his lack of foot quickness. He can throw sidearms. He can throw 3/4. He can throw over the top. He can do a lot of good things. So he's got a good arm back there, and he's capable of rushing the football when he needs to. And with that big frame, he's tough to bring down. So there's a lot of boxes that Drew Allar checks, coach, and as being an NFL quarterback.
Heck yeah! I mean. If you look at the Detroit Lions, I mean, if they were to make a move on a quarterback, this would be a really good one to do that with, because he is befitting of the style that you play, and really does kind of provide that youthful developmental prospect behind a lead quarterback that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. He would be perfect as a 3rd-string quarterback this year, to becoming then the 2nd-string quarterback and there and beyond. And then after his rookie year, we'll see where things fall. That would be a type of player that you could do this with. Am I saying that's what the Lions should do? No. Am I saying that's what they're going to do? No. Could they though? Could you look at a Drew Allar? I wouldn't shake my head. I wouldn't shake my head because this ain't, we're not looking at a player that you would be depending on next year. I don't think anyone is looking at Drew Allar as someone that they will be depending on to start for them next year. This is a prospect quarterback, Drew. This is a prospect quarterback, Drew, that may have the better upside in some ways of the last two that we've spoken of when it comes to Simpson and
Nussmeier, yep.
and Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, there's, like I said, he checks a lot of boxes, but he does have some things to work on. The first issue is, he did break the ankle it was week 6 of last season and ended the season early. By all accounts, he's 100% ready to go. He'll be ready for mini camp, etc. But there's still that doubt. It always creeps in. It's going to. He needs to work on his short field touch. He throws a nice deep ball. He throws great intermediate passes. He's got to work on his touch on screens and short and underneath routes. He's got to work on that a little bit. He's got to improve when going through his progressions. He does tend to lock in on his first option. We talked about that a little bit with Nussmeier at times. Allar can do that as well. He's got to discipline himself to not always do that, not think that way. And I mean, there's times the quarterback in their mind has to basically say, I'm going to look at my number one option, but my real number one, wink's the number 2 guy on the other side. He's got to discipline himself to that he can do that. He needs to improve his pocket presence and footwork. As big as he is, he's not fleet of foot, so he's definitely has to improve there. Got to be able to step up in the pocket as well. He's going to have to deal with that pocket collapse on him. What's he going to do? How's he going to handle that? He's good, but he's got to get better. And the big question is the real deal Drew Allar the 2024 version that we saw? Because if it is, this is some gold here on day 2, Coach.
He's fortunate that he is the type of quarterback that if he were drafted at the top of the draft and he were rushed into duty because for whatever reason, he could have a rather quick turnaround back towards the bench for good and be done. Just because he's not quite there yet. He is still a work in progress. And there really you alluded to it. Some of his checking down. I mean, the season ended with a stare down in 2024. That's how it ended. A heartbreaking stare down through one, and it was picked. And is the real deal 2024 or is the real deal 24-25? It's likely 2024. I mean, he was hurt. I mean, it got fixed. It was addressed. Let's see if that was the case. When and how are we going to know if that was the case? That's an interesting question. Drew Allar, to me, Drew, is someone that can go day 3.
Good.
He can, I'm sorry, day 2 in the 3rd round. Mm-hmm. He could. He could also go day 3 into the 4th round. I would say 3rd, 4th round draft pick right here.
Yeah, I think that's safe. Wouldn't shock me if it was round 2. Wouldn't shock me if it was round 4, like you said. But I think round 3 is probably what we're looking at. Definitely. But I mean, again, when we talk about the Detroit Lions just for a little bit here before we get to our number 5 prospect, I wouldn't have a problem with this, with the exception that they're just too. I talked about this in one of the episodes. I believe it was the safety one, where it's like when each time you'd like to make that move, but you're like, oh shoot, I have another position I got to address. Don't forget the safeties, folks. They need them. There's corners, linebackers, tackle. There's positions of need. And now they did get some draft capital. I would say if they were able to maybe snare another additional pick by a trade, I would be far more open to the Lions doing something at QB. Although every GM should do their due diligence with Drew Allar because there's a lot to like here, especially if you're in need of one in the near future. Let's talk about our number 5 prospect, Coach, and this is well-known Carson Beck, interesting prospect out of the University of Miami, 6'5", 233-pound senior. He's from Jacksonville, Florida. He was the Florida high school Mr. Football his senior year at Mandarin High School, and he was a former Georgia Bulldog. He transferred last season to the U. Last season, very, very strong campaign. 338 completions on 469 attempts for 3,813 yards, 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and a 106.7 QBR college rating. Bear in mind, he suffered that UCL elbow injury at Georgia in 2024. So a lot of Beck's motivation was to show he's healed up by transferring to Miami, playing his senior year, show that he healed up, and he did prove that, Coach. He healed up well.
Took him all the way to the national championship game and battled Indiana deep into the fourth quarter. So he bounced back after Tommy John surgery rather well. Carson Beck's intriguing. He's an intriguing player. He's done a lot of winning. He's done a lot of winning in his career, playing at both Georgia and obviously this past season at Miami was stellar for him in the Hurricanes. He's a good processor. Another football IQ guy, a natural born quarterback, a guy that's played this position a long time. This is a throwback to the definition of what a quarterback was. He possesses that kind of skill and that kind of mindset. He's a deep ball guy. He can really, really feed it in there nicely. He's got a soft touch to his ball, which makes a very catchable ball. Receivers like to catch his football. It's not it gets places quick. It gets places nice and quick, but it's not going to break your hands. It's not coming in there like a bull at a china shop or 100 miles an hour like a silver bullet. It's a very catchable ball and puts a lot of, great touch on it. Soft touch. Poised pocket passer. He's built to be a pro quarterback. He's got some escapability. He can get underneath the pocket and gut it and make some things happen. We saw him do some of those things in the national championship game. We saw him also do those things in the national semifinal, scoring touchdown with his feet. Real good, crisp release. That's the pro in him. If there's one pro skill he has into his passing arsenal, it's how he gets rid of it. It really is very smooth and fluid, and sharp. It gets out of there when when he really needs it to get out of there. He's a big stage player. University of Georgia, Athens, Georgia, one of the national powerhouses of the last decade. University of Miami, the Canes, historic football powerhouse, taking them to the national championship, really doing all these long runs in the college football playoff. Carson Beck's a winner, Drew. I'm not so sure on some things, but there is one thing for certain: he's a winner.
He's a winner. He's got the physical size. He's got the arm. He's got enough foot speed to make himself dangerous. Yeah, there's Carson Beck. If he can reach his ceiling, he definitely will be competing for a starting spot. But that's an if, Coach, and he's got some things he's got to work on, doesn't he?
He's not. His escapability is not quite that of Fernando Mendoza's. Let's put it to you that way. Very similar build. In fact, he might be a little, maybe what Fernando Mendoza may look like in a year or two, in regards to his weight and his frame. However, he does not move the feet the same. He is a guy that can be a bit of a statue. And it's almost like it's backhanded. This was the guy that some people think the Lions should get as a investment, long-term investment to put behind Jared Goff, because he's so similar. He doesn't run well. You don't draft somebody because they mirror the weaknesses of your current quarterback. I mean, that's not a pedigree there. But if you are looking at Carson Beck as a support to Jared Goff because he is similar to Jared Goff, well, that certainly speaks well to Carson Beck's capability to throw football where it needs to be, when it needs to be, and fourth down, on third down, and in clutch situations. Say what you will. Anyone can say what you will about this kid, Drew, and who he is, and if they like him or not. You can't deny that he was a winner.
No question. You're right, Coach. But people complained. He didn't seek out Mendoza to shake his hand after the game. I don't know what was behind that or not. I don't know. We've seen that happen before, and those things blow over. But uh, I I just think that he needs to show a little more poise, a little more maturity. I do like that he came back and improved and bet on himself, improved himself. I like that he did that. Um, Now, mind you, NIL money, I'm sure had a little bit to do with that too, right? So, I don't know the situation, but he's got an intriguing skill set and certainly an intriguing physicality set that I think he could definitely make an impact in the league if he keeps developing and keeps getting better. Um, but yeah, it's hard to say. He's in. I think he's a solid day two guy. Coach, would you say?
I mean, potentially. I think potentially, to call him a solid day two is to say he's going to be drafted in the second or the third round. I don't know that that's 100% guaranteed.
No.
Like you said, there's people that don't like him. He just does not necessarily come across always for everyone. He's not everybody's cup of tea. That being said, right there is something to be said. I mean, I don't know why. I'm not going to say that about Carson Beck myself, other than I can just report on what's been reported. Is that he wasn't always the greatest interview at at the combine, at the pro day, and those kinds of things either. It wasn't a good look. That's not how you conduct yourself. Storming off of a field in a national championship game like that, or ghosting the guy when everyone is it's fairly customary to do so. He's not required to. It's not like he broke the law. But again, I think yes, we can put that behind us. It's not going to be the end of the world. But who is Carson Beck? That's just it. Is Carson Beck? If we're still asking that question, is Carson Beck really somebody that you want to invest your NFL franchise in? So, I mean, I don't know. That right there probably sounds very dismissive of him, and I'm not trying to do that because he certainly is a winner. He's certainly a winner. It's just it's going to have to be a fit. It's going to have to be a fit. A place like the Rams would be a great fit because you're going to get a guy that knows how to treat people, and Matt Stafford, and you get an elite offensive mind in Sean McVay. Yes. And they have seemed to like ex-Georgia quarterbacks. I think, they have, our boy, Stinson Bennett. I think he's in his second year at age 45 in that league. So they're going to need to move on from him soon. But a place like that, another place that would be a great place to go would be a place like the other team in Los Angeles, the Chargers. Yes. Work under Coach Harbaugh. He could get a few things taken care of, and away you go. Carson Beck needs to find the right fit, Drew, wherever that may be. Could that happen on day two? If it's the right fit, then he'll show to be a guy that was worthy to be taken on day two. If it's on day three, which is where I am thinking he goes, somewhere probably in the fourth round, we shall see where that is and when and if he'll ever surface.
Sounds like a good plan, Coach. I think you're probably right. I had him slotted for day three. I think they'll be, and I say that just because I think teams are when teams need a quarterback, they'll tend to reach a little bit, and that's why I think he's got a shot of going in round three. But round four would make sense too. Like I said, for the Lions though, I'm sorry that they got the extra draft capital, and it can't be to draft a project player who likely never sees the field. That pick's got to be invested in someone that's going to play every snap on special teams and give you some snaps, whether it's on defense or offense. And I just don't think the Lions are in a position to do that. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Let's talk about our dark horses, Coach. I think we're going to start with you this time. Let's see who you got.
Well, I'm going with one again. to not to piggyback off of what you've just been saying, but I mean, in previously in the cycle, and you know what? I mean, I guess not to push back, but to be maybe a mild devil's advocate. Mm-hmm. When is it going to be the wrong time to do this? I mean, is it going to be next year? Well, there's going to be people. Oh, you got golf. What are you doing? 2 years from now, what do you do? Is you going to play over Goff? 3 years from now, oh, so you look to play with Goff, huh? There's going to have to come a time you're going to have to do it. So, I mean, maybe that's not. This year is a year where this may not be the most bountiful group is in regards to high ceiling quarterbacks. And yes, we do have quite a few. So, I mean, needs a head of this position. So do I think this guy right here, Drew, is a future Detroit Lion? If he doesn't get drafted, I really would like the chances, but I think that's going to happen. His name's Haynes King, Dave. He's from the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech. 6'2", 212-pound redshirt senior from Longview, Texas. He came via Texas A&M. This is someone that runs a sub 4 540. So this is of the quarterbacks we've spoken of so far, Drew. One that may move his feet a little bit better. He's a sub 4.5 guy, and he ran. He threw the discus on the track team in high school. Yeah. His 2025 season. So this is a different kind of an athlete, different type of an athlete. His 2025 season, almost 3,000 yards, 14 TDs, 6 picks with a 99.1 QBR in 12 games. That's not Fernando Mendoza's line necessarily, but it's interesting. He's an older player. He's played in college football quite a long time. But he has improved greatly over the 3 seasons. Now, what he can do exceptionally is run. This is this is probably the most escapable quarterback we've spoken of thus far tonight in this episode. He has got a lot of twitch and a lot of explosiveness, and he can take off with the football. Georgia Tech was a fairly prolific offense the last couple of seasons, greatly in part to this. He does have a big arm. It needs some harnessing. It needs some work. But this is a really tooled up prospect in that regard. He like I said, he's kind of a Paul Crewe type player at Georgia Tech, Drew. When the going got tough, just jump on my back and push and keep me moving forward. I'm going to get us there. He's got that kind of that alpha mentality that way, which is what you want out of a quarterback. The will to run is going to gain yards. That's going to flip fields. That's going to get first downs. That's a great thing. And it opens windows. It redistributes windows. There's a lot of good things that happen as a result of that. It also can get you popped. And that's something that you don't want to have happen, because it's going to likely put you into concussion protocol and out for multiple weeks. And you only have so many of those kind of shots in you. So, I mean, he's got to become a prolific slider. That's something that he needs to do. He's got a leaner build. 6'2", 212 is a decent build. It's something that you can play with. But he's got some things he's got to strengthen. He's when you have the kind of play style that Haynes King plays with, which is kind of a fly around player, universal soldier of sorts, you will be guilty of throwing the ball up a little bit. And he does this. And this is something that, there's going to be a very, very, very short leash on and a very, very small tolerance for in the NFL. That's something that's got to get better quick. And he's got to become more accurate too. What he brings to the table, Drew, is his phenomenal athletic ability. And I think he's somebody that the Lions were looking at because they envision him being used like another former run-first quarterback in college, and that's Taysom Hill. Yeah. That's what they envisioned with Haynes King, is kind of a unicorn, if you will. I no longer feel, once again, just like you had said, Drew, I am 100% in your camp and don't feel like this is the time to draft a quarterback. 100%. Again, there's going to be one in the camp through the UDFA process. I mean, that they should do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That they really do need to do. And they may need to add a third quarterback to this team. I mean, if they may need to. But Haynes King was a player that kind of meets a profile that the Lions were interested in, maybe not solely as a quarterback, Drew. And I am guessing the Lions aren't the only franchise that feels that way.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see, number one, where he ends up, and two, what he ends up being like 3 years from now. He's definitely fun to watch. That's for sure. He
Might be a tight end, yeah.
might be a tight end. Yeah, so he's a lot of fun to watch. Who's your number two guy, Coach?
Well, Miller Moss out of Louisville, 6'2", 210-pound senior. This was a Bright Lights big city boy coming from the City of Lights, Los Angeles, California. He's played out in Mission Hills, California. In a big private school, was 4-star prospect, type of player that goes to USC, and he did. He did start there. He was Big Bill, Drew. This was a Big Bill player, out from the West Coast. And he got on the field there, but ultimately would transfer to Louisville in 2025. Things weren't looking the greatest for him at USC after, he was benched in 2024. Lincoln Riley put him on the bench, and he has served there prior to coming to Louisville and playing for Jeff Brom, a quarterback whisperer of extraordinary measures. That's one of the nation's best football coaches, barring any level, Jeff Brom. And boy, did Miller Moss take to him. Over 2,600 yards, 16 TDs, 7 picks, a 90.6 QBR. He did get to play in 28 career football games, so he's got a little bit of experience under his belt. He has a brilliant release. You don't get recruited into USC if you don't, to play quarterback if you don't. That's Lincoln Riley, folks, is he's coached Jalen Hurts, he's coached Caleb Williams, he has coached some guys that have emerged into being quite interesting talents at the quarterback position. Miller Moss is played for him, and he's played for another guy that's an exceptional quarterback teacher, and Jeff Brom. You can really see that in his release. He's tucked up and has a brilliant release. He's coached up. He's played for some quarterback guys. Drew, he some of these target, these stare downs or looking down the target or holding too long or processing too long, which is a very, very innate common trait for quarterbacks to have. Very, very common. He is better at that. He's a little more nuanced in the progression and getting the ball out faster when it needs to be. And that's a pro thing. That's a thing pros like. That's what you see in the pros. That's a big difference. He's got some nice touch. He can throw a deep ball. He can get the ball down the field and flip the field on you and make completions. You can make those completions. You can play in this league. He's a signal caller. He is, this is what this kid did at a high level at a big, competitive area like Los Angeles, and eventually, at Bishop Alemany High School, and doing it there and going to USC and competing and getting on the field and taking his lumps and moving on and going to Louisville and doing it some more. This is a kid that's very confident in his own skin and what he can do out there. He gets a little careless at times. He can get a little loose, and those are the things that probably cost him in Los Angeles. Playing for the Trojans. He was a bit careless at times, and that's got to tighten up, because that's just going to get you off the field for good rather quickly, if it's a consistent issue. In doing so, he forces throws a little bit. He's trying to make plays out there. And when Miller Moss gets into that mindset, I am wondering if that is a hindrance to him, because it certainly causes him to be inaccurate at times. Again, like many of these prospects, Drew, we've talked about some good arms and some kids that can throw, but we aren't talking about any brilliant rocket ship arms here.
Yeah.
So, this isn't a golden arm. Can he be the version that Jeff Brom has made him out to be? Or is he going to be either indecisive or rushed? And neither the tween shall meet and never making anything happen. That's the concern here. Miller Moss needs some incubation time. He is a guy that is a third quarterback probably, but somebody that can be a second rather quickly and could be somebody that eventually gets on the field, Drew. I do believe he can. He has a brilliant throwing mechanics. They're brilliant.
Yeah, and that's why I'd be surprised if he wasn't drafted. I think he'll be drafted day 3. I would say between the fifth and sixth round area, maybe. That's what I'm thinking. I think he's going to get drafted because there's too much upside, and if you can get a Miller Moss in round 6, that you can work with that. That's good.
Who's our guy in New Orleans? Tyler Shaw.
Yeah.
This is who replaced him.
Mm-hmm.
Who once again coached Tyler Shaw? He shot up the draft charts and was drafted in the first round, wasn't he, Drew?
Yes, Saints got him, and he's
Chuck Brown prospect.
Yep, there you go. So, yeah, great comparison. That it can be done. So, there's great value for Miller Moss, and I think day 3, and we'll see what happens with him. I got a couple here, Coach, and then we'll wrap this up. I got Taylon Green out of Arkansas, 6'6", 227-pound senior. He's from Louisville, Texas. He was a 3-star recruit at Louisville. This young man runs a sub-4 440, 4.36 40-yard dash time. He can flat out run, and he ain't small. He was redshirted. He was originally at Boise State. He was redshirted his freshman year. But then he was the Mountain West Freshman of the Year in 2022. He did transfer to Arkansas in 2024. He has a 43.5-inch vertical leap and 11.2 broad jump. He was a Mountain West Championship game MVP in 2022, and he was also the Liberty Bowl MVP in 2024. So he's shown that when he plays in big games, he steps up and leads, and he's been very successful. What do we like about him? Well, kind of the obvious, size and speed. I mean, he's to be 6'6", 227 and run a 4.36 40, you're liking that. Athleticism is just off the charts. He throws a nice deep ball. He makes plays with his legs all day long, and he's got pocket poise. He's a very capable RPO quarterback. He reminds me in a lot of ways of Anthony Richardson, the former Florida Gator, who is now with the Colts, who ended up being, I think, the 4th overall pick a couple years ago.
He was.
So he's got that same kind of skill set, but here's some issues. He does not have a quick release and isn't terribly efficient in throwing the football. That's got to get worked on, and I'm not sure how much he can improve on that, to be honest. I'm not sure. We'll see. He does struggle reading zone coverages at times, so defensive coordinators are going to play with him until he can prove otherwise. He needs to be much better securing the football at the NFL level, especially if you're going to be a running quarterback, and you better protect that football. I mean, that's just a given. He will not be long for that league. The NFL means not for long if you're going to fumble the football, so that can't happen. So the big question, Coach, with Taylon Green is he a quarterback or a tight end in the NFL? Your thoughts?
Well, I think he gets the opportunity to play quarterback. I mean, I think that's what he's entering the, obviously what he's entering the draft as. You do see bodies like this, like Logan Thomas a couple of years ago, played for the Lions briefly. He was the quarterback of Virginia Tech. But he made a real nice name for himself as a tight end in the NFL. So, I mean, this does happen. That's a position change that makes, and boy, would you be putting one athletic kid in there, a sub 440 at that size and frame. He's kind of got Joe Milton, written all over him. I mean, this uber athlete, big, huge athletic kid that can run, can throw, can do all these different things. But can he play the quarterback position well? And he's shown some high proficiency there. Mountain West Freshman of the Year with the Broncos of Boise State. So, I mean, where is Taylon Green in his development arc? Is he going? Does he still have some strength growing to do? Is he really have enough strength to be an emergent guy like he was when he was Mountain West Freshman of the Year? Taylen Green just needs to answer the question, who is Taylen Green? Yeah. He possesses those answers.
Yeah, and I see a middle day 3 guy, possibly an earlier day 3 guy.
With that athletic talents, but yeah.
I mean, that's and honestly, he's hard to read in that respect, because honestly, I could see a team in the late in the third round, sure, taking him, because an OC might say, "Oh, I can work with that. I can make it work." So he's a tough one to read in that respect, but there's a lot of talent there, no question, to get on the football field. So we'll see what happens with Taylen Green. And my last dark horse coach is Sawyer Robertson out of Baylor, 6'4", 216-pound senior. He's from Lubbock, Texas. I think 3 of our 4 dark horses are from Texas in this particular prospect group. So that was interesting. A 4-star recruit and a Coronado High School grad. He played 2 seasons at Mississippi State, and then he transferred in 2023 to Baylor. Big 12 Scholar Athlete of the Year last year, and second team All Big 12 in 2025 as well. He was a Senior Bowl participant last season. He completed 304 passes on 505 attempts for 3,683 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions for a 93.2 QBR rating. So pretty efficient numbers there for Sawyer Robertson. We like a good pocket presence, and he's got an NFL arm to all areas of the field. He can throw it short, he can throw it intermediate, he can throw it deep. He's got a good arm, a good, strong, accurate arm. He played 2024 injured a lot, but he did not miss any games. So he had some nagging stuff going on, but he played through it. You don't like to hear about the injuries, but I do like that he fought through it and didn't miss snaps. So that's a plus for Sawyer Robertson. He's got a strong lower body. He can run when called upon. Not a speedster, but he can make it happen when he needs to. So when you have that in your utility belt as a quarterback, that makes you more dangerous. So lots to like there. But he makes a lot of risky throws and decisions. And this is going to be the narrative with Sawyer Robertson. He isn't very accurate, and did not improve really from 2024 to 2025, not significantly. Can he be consistently good? Consistency, that's the word. He has some great tape, and he has some cringeworthy efforts too. So Coach Sawyer Robertson could very well work his way into a starting role in the NFL, or we might not see him after a couple of years, because if he can't be consistently good, he won't be in the league long. But if he can get it together, he's got some talent.
Looks kind of like a Green Bay Packer in that uniform right there with the Baylor Bears.
Doesn't he?
And his play style is that of one of their former quarterbacks, Brett Favre. It's what he is like. He's got a big arm. He's a gunslinger. He's a pounder with that football, and he puts it in places where it needs to be. Whether it can be caught, who knows? And who is it going to be caught by? Well, that can also be a question from time to time. He's a wild card. He's kind of that bucking bronco that needs to be lassoed, wheeled in, and trained. He just needs that, Drew, because Sawyer Robertson does possess, and you can watch the film, his ball looks a little different than some of the other prospects, especially some that we've talked about back an hour ago. He has a big arm. Can he get reeled in? Can he get the development time to be counted on in the future? He's got to latch on to a place that's going to believe in him, and probably let him go to yet another place that's got to believe in him. And that would be is how he gets out there. But Sawyer Robertson has great intrigue, Drew, because he does possess that escapability and that playmaking ability that the NFL has long been known for in regards to mobile quarterback passers. Can he be harnessed in enough to become a guy that can be counted on a weekly basis? That's what Sawyer Robertson's got to do.
It's the big question about him. So we will see. Before I wrap this up, like you brought up a good point about the quarterback in terms of the Detroit Lions. When is the right time? We were both very happy they took Hendon Hooker when they did. That was on paper an excellent value pick. another third round pick that didn't work out, but it wasn't a reach. It made a lot of sense. They had some extra draft capital. They were really coming off a very, very good year, and they had the opportunity to say, okay, we're going to take a flyer on somebody we know has been injured, but we know has a lot of upside. Now, time will tell if Hendon Hooker ultimately gets it together. I think he's with Carolina now.
Not any
longer. No. So we'll see. That's how he's hard to read, because you see a Hendon Hooker in college, and you're like, holy crap, this guy's a first round pick. Yeah, the knee injury set him back, but you figure, well, once he's right, he's going to be ready to rock and roll. It just never materialized in Detroit. So, yeah, that's where there's some trepidation. But your thoughts before we close this out?
Well, this is not, a star-studded cast in regards to this. You're going to see 3 NFL starters, day one, year one NFL starters drafted in the first round, or 6 or 7 potential future starting quarterbacks in the league, or 5 drafted in the first round, or anything like that. It's not like that class. It's not one of those classes. They have a very, very high level of top guy in Fernando Mendoza. He is somebody that could be a Pro Bowl, perennial player. There's some other fine ones. There's some real tried and true ones, and I think there's some future coaches that are probably in this quarterback draft class. Oh, yeah. Their dads are that. I would not be surprised if they would follow in those footsteps. I don't see a magical player out of this group, though, not named Fernando Mendoza, Drew. There's no one that I think this is someone that's going to do it. I wouldn't be shocked if Ty Simpson was a functional, successful starting quarterback in the league. I wouldn't be shocked if a Drew Allar could get out there and do some things and be a starter. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if Drew Allar never really gets the opportunity either. It's just one of those. It's just one of those drafts.
Yeah. It's Mendoza saves the day for sure, and Simpson certainly is very capable too. It's a solid top 5. We've seen thinner groups, but we've covered better ones too, right? I mean, so. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. It's always fun to watch the quarterbacks. And quite frankly, as a Lion fan, what disappoints me is there won't be more taken before them, very likely. You hope, Mendoza will be, but yeah, the more receivers, more quarterbacks, maybe more running backs that would get taken above the Lions, then more.
Help push those offensive tackles back.
You betcha. So we hope for that, but we'll see. Hey, we're going to wrap this one up. Don't forget, subscribe to our channel. Get these podcasts every week. We got 12 position groups covered for this draft class. We got a playlist for that. Check that out. Don't forget to like the video. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know maybe we're way off. Maybe Carson Beck's going to be an absolute star, and you take exception to our views. Let us know, folks. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe again. For Coach Shield, I'm Drew. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. This has been a Sports Peninsula podcast. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can also follow us on X as well as Facebook so you don't miss an episode. When you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula podcast.